Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. Today we're going to cover chapter 6. Chapter 6 for BWJ 32003 plant physiology. And today we're going to learn about plant diseases. So these are the outline. This is the outline of our lecture today, and these are the topics that we are going to learn. What is a plant disease? Impact of a plant disease, aims of the plant pathology, how diseases affect plants, when are diseases serious, how to control plant disease, and also fungal pathogen. We're going to have a look at the fungal pathogen that cause all these diseases in the plants. So what is a plant disease? Abnormal and injurious condition in which a causal agent, usually causal agent is the pathogen, what we call it as a pathogen, but there are a lot of forms of the pathogen, brings about continuous irritations. Okay, so we have to know that it is abnormal. Okay, let me see. Let's go for the pen, and I want purple. Okay, so it's abnormal and injurious condition. Okay, so plant disease, it has to be abnormal. If it is normal, then it is not a disease. And also it has to be injurious. It means it's harmful to the plants. If it is not harmful, then it is not a disease. So it is the same with our pandemic situation right now, the COVID-19. So it's the same, it's not is abnormal and also is injurious. Okay, so the pathogens can be abiotic and also biotic, and I think and I hope you all know already that abiotic is the non-living one and biotic is the living organisms. Okay, so abiotic pathogens is what we can summarize as the stress. So basically stress of the environmental factors usually, and usually is the extreme of temperature, moisture, nutrient supply, pH, heavy metals, all the pollutants, all the pollutants in terms of the gases and also the heavy metals. Okay, nak tukar colour pula lah. Nak tukar warna yellow. Alright, and then the next one is the biotic. So biotic is the living organisms, all the living organisms. So who are the pathogens of the biotic for the living organisms? The viruses, prokaryotes, eukaryotes. Okay, so the common feature of biotic pathogens is that they obtain their nutrients from the host plant. So this is something that is normal and something that we are familiar with. So all the biotic pathogens, all the living organisms ni, viruses, prokaryotes, eukaryotes ni, they will take the nutrients from the host cells. Okay, then they can infect the host cells. Impact of a plant disease. So when the plants are infected, then they have the disease. So in this slide, we're going to see the impact or the consequences of a plant disease. Okay, so usually plant disease, it can reduce the yield and it can reduce the quality of the produce. So yield too in terms of the quantity of the yield. So usually, for example, if when we have a rice plantation, the yield usually may be 1,000 kilo. Okay, but because of the disease, it reduces significantly to maybe to 500 kilo only. Okay, so that's what we can do. That's what plant diseases can do in terms of reducing the yield. Besides reducing the yield, it can also reduce the quality of the produce. Okay, so the same example with the rice plantation. So usually we will have 1,000 kilograms of the yield or of the produce, but because of the plant disease, maybe they are not that serious, but the quality is somehow decreased. So it's not a grade A. So meaning it's a grade A or grade B plus or something like that. Okay, so these are the example of the impact of plant disease in other countries or other crops and plantations. So one thing, if we talk about plant disease, you will come across this a lot. Potato late blight disease. And it is still a problem right now. Okay, so let's see what happened in Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, before this, they are very famous and popular with the coffee production. But because of coffee rust disease, they had to switch from coffee to tea production. Okay, and other things as well. Aims of plant pathology. So, the term plant pathology, So, the term plant pathology, so it means that pathology is the study of pathology, is the study of the pathogen. So, from the definition of the plant disease, we know that pathogen is the causal agent that gives disease to the plants. Okay, so plant pathology is the study of pathogen towards plant. So what are the aims of this study? Is these three. Control, we want to control. We want to manage. And also we want to understand. Understand. Okay. So control. In order we want to control the plant disease, we have 3 E's. Okay. So it's the effective, and then economic, and also environmentally acceptable. So economic meaning the benefit of controlling the plant disease too, it has to be greater than the cost. It has to be more effective. And then environmentally acceptable, minimal effect on non-target organisms. So we know that the plant disease, it is caused by a specific pathogen. So when we want to control, we want to treat the plant disease, then we have to try our best so that we won't interfere with other non-target organisms. So we want to target our only pathogen that caused the disease. So the second point is the management. We have to manage this plant disease. However, there are some limitations. And one of the great limitation is that the pathogen itself, because it is a living organisms. So living organisms, they can evolve. So when they evolve, they can develop the resistance towards all the treatment that we are giving them. So they can overcome the control measures on what we do in the control area. Also the durability and also the sustainability, and we have to make sure that it lasts longer in order for it to be effective. And the last one is understand. So the aim of plant pathology, we have to understand the disease, how it spreads, how it starts, the mechanism, so that kita tak kenal maka tak cinta. Macam tu. Or there is another saying, keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. Okay, so in this case, our pathogens are the enemies, so we have to get to know them better in order for us to destroy them. And this understanding, this knowledge is very important in order for us to manage the plant disease effectively. How diseases affect plants? So now we know disease on plants, it will happen. Okay, as long as all the conditions are met, and as long as there are plants and there are pathogens, they will see with each other and plant disease will happen. So now let's see how diseases affect plants, and this is what we have to see. Okay, nak tukar color lain. Let's see blue. Okay, so this is the infection cycle. Okay, so first process is infection. The pathogen has to infect first the plants, and then once the pathogen goes into the plants, they will grow inside the plants. And we have to remember that pathogens they have to have a host. They have to have a vector in order for them to grow. So in this case, sometimes they need to be inside the host, or sometimes they can be on the surface of the host, okay, surface of the leaf. Once they grow inside or on the surface of the plants, they will reproduce. Okay, dia nak banyakkan diri dia. They will multiply themselves. They reproduce. So they are making their own army, okay, in order to infect the whole system. Then when they think that they have enough armies, enough soldiers, then they will release the armies and it will spread throughout the plant system. Okay, so symptoms and signs will tell us that this particular plant is infected or this plant has a disease, okay, because plants, healthy plants and also diseased plants or the sick plants, they will totally look different. Okay, healthy plants is like the one that we see here. Okay, dekat background of the template ni, it's very green, it is very fresh, it is very strong. But let's compare it with this figure. Okay, so this figure is a type of crown gall. Okay, so this is an abnormal development. Mana ada normal macam gini, kan? Normal is straight macam tu je. But this is an abnormal development. And this is what we call the crown gall. Okay, so these are the symptoms. Besides that, yellowing. So if we see there is a plant, there is a leaf yang ada yellow color, so it is showing some symptoms. Symptoms. It is showing some symptoms. Okay, the plants are telling the human that, hello human, help me, I'm being infected, please treat me. Macam tu. Okay, so we have to know, we have to learn, we have to understand in order for us to help our plants. So the symptoms can be local to where the pathogen is growing ataupun systemic. Okay, so local tu maksudnya kalau if the pathogen is entering through the leaf, then dia akan nampak dekat leaf sahajalah. Okay, dia punya kerosakan, the damage. But it can also be seen in any other part of the plants. Although the entrance of the pathogen is on the leaf, but because it has been spread throughout the plants, then some of the symptoms we can also see at the other part of the leaf, the other part of the plants. For example, dekat dia punya stem, dekat root ke, dekat flower ke, dekat fruits ke. Okay. And then signs. Signs, it can tell us whether this pathogen is a type of fungus or bacterium or virus. Okay, so usually for fungus, it is an instant knowing that if we see any spore, then it is caused by a fungus. If we see cells in mass, macam tadi crown gall tadi tu, we know that it is a bacterium. But for virus, we don't know. Kita tak boleh nampak because dia dalam bentuk particle and we need an electron microscope. We can't use our naked eye. Okay? Alright. So pathogen nutrition, pathogen ni they have to eat. They have to feed on something in order for them to grow and reproduce and everything. Okay, so these are the three mode of nutrition. Biotroph, necrotroph and hemibiotroph. So biotroph, we know that they obtain the nutrients from the living host cells and the host cells still live. Kalau necrotroph, they akan kill the host cells and take the nutrients. So jahat. Hemibiotroph, dia tengah-tengah. So firstly, it will be like biotroph. Dia ambil dulu from the living host cells masih alive, and then eventually it will kill, just like the necrotroph.